Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are well and I hope you guys are staying safe. So as you can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this nice summer spaghetti strap dress. So yes, I'm going to put a picture somewhere here or here on the screen and you guys can see what the dress is looking like. And it's a summer dress that I'm making for my friend whose birthday is today, the 16th of May. Actually, today's not the 16th of May, but by the time you're watching this video, it will be the 16th of May. So happy birthday, Tito. You're amazing. I've known her all my life, basically almost 20 something years. But yeah, happy birthday to you, my love. I wish you many happy returns and the best of the year. So guys, if you're interested in seeing how I make this dress, definitely keep watching. It promises to be another fun and detailed tutorial. You guys know that I've got you guys covered always. Okay guys, so if you are new here, welcome. My name is Ayatola, the creative director of So Unique Badini and the content creator of this YouTube channel, DIY with So Unique Badini. And this channel was created just for you, to teach you loads of sewing crafts and sewing projects that you can do from the comfort of your home. So if you're wondering, is this channel only for sewing crafts? Well, the truth is not really. Sometimes I dabble. I give you guys fashion and business advice. Sometimes I give you guys videos that show you a day in my life, and sometimes I give you other crafts related videos, and I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it. So I'd like to extend an invitation to you guys and invite you to be a part of this amazing family. We would love to have you. Family is big enough to have you, and if you would like to do that, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button right here on the screen, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss out on all the awesome content that I have for you. You also want to make sure you give this video a thumbs up, because YouTube's algorithm would then know that you enjoyed this video, and then they'll keep recommending my videos to you guys. So please make sure to subscribe, like, share, do all of that, because you're definitely going to enjoy this video. Okay, and to all my amazing returning subscribers, the OGs, how are you guys doing? Thank you guys so much for sticking by me. Thank you for being a part of this family. I'm blowing you guys virtual hugs and virtual kisses rather, and I'm sending you guys virtual hugs. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this family, and you guys make sure you enjoy the video. The video is starting right now.
To make your summer dress, you need the following items. You need your measuring tape, you need a ruler, you'd also need your paper scissors because we're working with some patterns. You need your fabric scissors, of course. You need your magnet and some pins. You need your pencil. However, for the purpose of this video, I'll be using my pen and a marker. You need your tailor's chalk. You need your front and back bodice, and if you don't know how to draft the basic bodice, do check out the video that I've linked in the iCards above and in the description bar below. You'd also need your lining as well as your main fabric. So I've got about 2 yards of lining and about 3 yards of the main fabric here. Start off by closing the shoulder dart on the bodice. So you'll be starting off with the front bodice, and you basically want to close the shoulder dart so that it folds over towards the armhole. You can go ahead and hold it in place with some pins or some masking tape, and then you want to draw the desired neckline. So basically the neckline I'm drawing is similar to a sweetheart neckline, but not quite. After faintly drawing the neckline, go ahead and open up the darts. Now the next thing to do will be removing some excess so that we avoid gaping. And if you don't know what I mean, is when you're wearing a bustier or like a tube top, when you bend, sometimes there's like a gaping. So we're going to be removing that and avoiding that, and the best way to do that is to mark 1.5 centimeters to the left of the first dart line, and then another 1.5 centimeters to the right of the second dart line. So as you can see, to the dart lines I've done 1.5 centimeters, and then I've gone ahead to draw a new line that links back to the bust point. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reshape the dart or reclose the dart, now taking into account the new lines that I have. So as you can see, that removes some form of gaping, and I'll need to draw the neckline again. So I'm going ahead to draw the new neckline and just make it bolder, and now I'm happy with the neckline. So once you're happy with the neckline, you want to make sure to cut it. And if you notice, my neckline actually links back smoothly to my armhole. Next, label the pieces appropriately and then cut out the dart as shown. So you basically want to remove the dart so that we can sew it without having any darts physically. To avoid any errors, go ahead and mark out the sewing allowance, or rather write out the sewing allowances on the pattern pieces. So for the center front, we're going to be starting with the center front part, and here it has a button wrap, and because of the button wrap, I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches. So as you can see, I made an error and I wrote 3.5 inches, but it's actually 1.5 inches to the center front, 1/2 inch to the bottom, 1/2 inch to the top around the neckline, and 1/2 inch to the side. Moving on to the side front, you want to add 1 inch to the side. You want to add 1/2 inch to the bottom, 1/2 inch to the side, and then 1/2 inch at the top as well. Moving on to the back bodice, go ahead and draw in the back neckline while the back waist dart is closed. So as you can see, I'm closing the back waist dart, and then I'm going to go ahead and hold it in place, with my hands. But if you need to use a masking tape, go ahead and do that. Then you want to go ahead and draw in the neckline starting from the armhole region, and drawing depending on what you want. So you can have like a slant neckline at the back, you can have it straight, or you can have it slightly curved, which is what I went for. Afterwards, go ahead and cut it. So now you'll see that I can easily cut out my dart or just have this as one piece. So I decided to have it as one piece, and what I decided to do was close up the dart permanently so that the back is just one piece. And remember, in this case, the dart will be cut on fold because there's no zipper, so the dart will be cut on fold while the front has the button wrap. So usually when we're making dresses, what happens is that we cut the back with a zipper allowance, and then we cut the front on fold. However, in this case, it's entirely different. Go ahead and mark out the sewing allowances that you require for the back, and for the back we'll be needing 1 inch at the side. Because it's on fold, we don't need anything at the center back, 1/2 inch at the top, and 1/2 inch at the bottom. If you're trying to calculate how much fabric you need, go ahead and use the formula being shown on the screen. I've tried as much as possible to break it down and also give an example. So please go ahead and slot in your measurements as well as your allowances, and then get how much fabric you require. After calculating how much fabric I require using the formula on the screen, I went ahead to cut out the fabric that I need, and then I went ahead to fold it into a manageable size. The essence of folding this fabric into a manageable size is so that I'm able to cut out the required length. So this dress is a midi dress. However, if you want, you can make yours knee length, you can make yours absolutely long. It's entirely up to you. However, the fabric you will need will then be different. So now that I've decided that this is a midi dress, I'm going ahead to cut out the desired length. So mark and cut out the desired length that you need for the bottom half of the dress. So basically you'll be cutting out what you need from the waist to wherever it is that you want your dress to stop. So like I said, whether you want it to be a short dress or a long dress or a midi dress, that's entirely up to you. So the waist measurement to that point is what you're going to be marking out. Then you need to remember to add your hemming allowance, and I would suggest hemming allowance of 1.5 inches at the bottom and then an extra 1/2 inch at the top so that you can join it to the basic bodice. After marking out this point, go ahead and cut it out. So now the remaining part of the fabric at the bottom, you want to keep it because that's what we're going to actually use for the bodice. So you basically want to keep it aside. And now that we have this part, is what we're going to be using for the top, for the bottom part of the skirt, or of the dress rather. And the bottom part of the dress is called a skirt. For easy identification, mark out the wrong side of the fabric. So basically with fabrics like this, the front and the back actually looks alike. So I tend to mark mine with my tailor's chalk and just put like a really huge X there. So that's what I'm doing right about now. Afterwards, you want to fold your fabric into 2 equal halves, and then you want to create a notch. After making a notch, open up the fabric, and then you want to go ahead and sew from one end to the other end on 1/2 inch sewing allowance, making sure your machine is on the gather setting. After sewing with your machine being on the gather setting, it's now time to pull on the bottom thread gently so that you have the fabric gathering. So you need to do this as gently as possible because when the thread breaks, you probably need to start again. Start from the side and then move the gathers gently towards the center. It's always better to start from both sides. So I tend to do one side and then do the other side and just push towards the center until the whole fabric is gathered. After gathering the fabric, here's what it looks like, and as you can see, the notch is right here. So basically you want to make sure that you can identify the notch, and afterwards you want to go ahead and hem the bottom of the fabric. I love to hem by folding in 1/2 inch and then 1 inch and then just sewing it in place. After hemming, here's what it looks like at the bottom, and as you can tell, the gathers is done. So for now, we're going to put this aside and then we're going to work with the lining. Again, you'll need to calculate how much fabric you need for the lining using the exact same formula. However, the only difference will be that the lining will be much shorter than the actual fabric. So in this case, because mine is a midi dress, the lining was about 12-13 inches shorter. However, I recommend at least 6 to 8 inches shorter than the main fabric. So for instance, if you did 26 inches for the main fabric, you want to do 20 inches for the lining fabric. So I'm basically going to repeat the whole process, cut out the required length after folding our fabric into a manageable size. After that, you want to go ahead and open up the lining and fold it into two. You want to create a notch right there in the center, and then you want to go ahead and sew your gathers on 1/2 inch, pull your gathers, and then you want to make sure that you hem the bottom by folding in 1/2 inch twice. Now that the lining is done, it's now time for us to move to the bodice, and as you can see, the first thing I do is to correct the mistake and change it from 3.5 inches at the center front for the button wrap to 1.5 inches. Next, we'll be cutting out the bodice pieces, and the best way to do that is to pin the bodice pieces to the main fabric. You must remember that the back is on fold, and you can see that I'm folding my fabric and pinning it in place, and I'm going ahead to mark out the allowances. Again, just to reiterate, the allowance that you require at the top, or which is supposed to be the neckline, will be 1/2 inch. You need 1 inch at the side and 1/2 inch at the bottom. You do not need anything at the center back because it is on fold. Cut out the back piece, and then you want to go ahead and pin the rest of the pieces, which is the center front as well as the side front. Moving on to the side front, go ahead and pin the side front in place and then mark out the sewing allowances. So for this one, the only part where you have 1 inch will be exactly at the side, otherwise you have 1/2 inch all around. And lastly, we will need to cut out the center front. So you want to go ahead and fold your fabric again, and then you want to pin the center front in position. Again, the reason why the center front is not on fold in this case is because it has the button wrap and this dress is buttoned in front. So go ahead and mark out 1.5 inches around the center front area and then 1/2 inch all around as shown. After marking out your allowances, cut it up as shown. After cutting out the main fabric pieces, you would also need to cut out the lining. So go ahead and use the main fabric as a template to cut out the lining. Remember that you must fold your fabric, or your lining fabric rather, and then pin everything in position, making sure the center back is on fold as well. After cutting out the lining, this is what they look like. So the next thing to do, or what I like to do, is I like to notch the dart area of the center back piece. And this is so that when I'm putting back my strap, I know where my strap goes to. Next, you need to cut out 2 strips of fabric that measure about 1.5 inches by 20 inches, and this will serve as the straps. So as you can see, I actually measured, the part that I cut out from the front bodies as well as the back bodies, so I can know the strap length, and what I got was 14 inches, but I just added about 6 inches for allowance, which you really don't need. You only need to be about 2 inches longer. So as you can see later on, I'm actually reducing the strips length. So really in total, my strips became 1.5 inches by 18 inches, and that's just fine and with more than enough allowance. Go ahead and pipe the strips as shown so that you can make the straps. Here's what the strips look like after piping. So guys, we're all done now, and the next thing to do will be to join the bodice pieces together. Carefully unpin the center front and side front pieces respectively, and then go ahead and separate the main fabric from the lining. So as you can see, I first unpin it and then hold them in the center with one pin, and then after unpinning all of them, I take out the one pin in the center, and then I separate the main fabric from the lining, pin the lining back in place, and then mark the wrong side on the main fabric. I do the same thing for the center front, and the reason why I do this is to avoid any confusion. So I like to be particular about my pieces. While everything is organized, go ahead and grab one of the center front pieces and then one of the side front pieces. Hold them in place and then pin them in place as it should be. You have to make sure that the right sides are facing each other, and then you have the top as the top and the bottom as the bottom. You don't want to make that mistake. After pinning, mark out the sewing allowance of 1/2 inch and then go ahead and sew it in place. You will need to repeat that for the other side as well. After sewing, here's what it looks like, and as you can see, you have a little cup forming for the bust area. So for emphasis sake, I'm going to show you again. You want to grab both pieces and place them on each other so that the right sides of the fabric are facing each other. You want to pin the sides in place just like I'm doing, and then afterwards you want to go ahead and sew on a 1/2 inch sewing allowance. You must be careful that your sewing follows the curve and it shouldn't be pointed around the bust point area. After sewing, here's what it's looking like, and as you can tell, the button wrap is still there, so that's why it looks a bit big. However, with the button, it will be on top of each other. So basically, we're off to a good start. Now that we've done this, we're going to repeat the same thing for the lining of the front pieces. So you get the center front as well as the side front. You mark the parts that you want to be the back because the lining really doesn't have a front and a back, and then you go ahead and sew. However, for the lining, I tend to top stitch after sewing. Go ahead and place the 2 front pieces on the table so that the right sides are facing up and then the center front area are facing each other. Afterwards, go ahead and pin the straps to the joining of the center of the front pieces as shown. After pinning the straps in place the lining on the fabric so that the right sides are facing each other, and then go ahead and pin the neckline all the way starting from the center front area towards the armhole area. After pinning the neckline, your straps should be sandwiched in between the lining and the main fabric. Go ahead and mark out the sewing allowance of 1/2 inch all around and then go ahead and sew. You will need to repeat this for the other part as well. After sewing, here's what it looks like, and as you can tell, I already top stitched this one. However, I didn't top stitch the second one so that I can show you exactly how I do that. So basically, after sewing, the first thing you want to do is you want to notch the entire neckline and armhole area, and then after notching the entire neckline and armhole area, you want to go ahead and top stitch it. If you haven't already, notch the point where the back dart used to be. Then go ahead and unpin the back piece so that you can separate the main fabric from the lining. On the straps, starting from the point where it touches the center front pieces, go ahead and mark out the desired strap length. Like I said, mine was actually 14 inches, but I had more. So go ahead and make a mark on the actual length that you require, so that the excess is just hanging there. Then afterwards, place the back piece so that the notch is facing the front neckline. So you basically want to face it so that the top part of the front neckline is facing the top part of the back neckline. This is very important. Then afterwards, without tangling the straps, you want to pin the straps into position. So as you can see how I'm doing that, you want to do exactly like that. Pin the straps into position as shown. After pinning the straps into position, gently place the back lining piece on the main fabric so that the right sides of the lining and the right sides of the main fabric are facing each other. After doing that, you want to pin the entire back neckline. So basically, it's not really a neckline, but we're just going to call it that. You want to pin that together, and then you want to go ahead and sew it on a 1/2 inch sewing allowance. After sewing, go ahead and top stitch the back neckline. At this point, you're almost done, and the next thing to do will be to join the sides. So as you can see, I'm checking my straps just to make sure nothing is tangled and everything seems fine. So go ahead and pin the sides together, starting from the point where the lining and the fabric meet. So that's around the point where it was top stitched. You want to start pinning from that point, and then you want to pin towards the main fabric all the way to the waist, and also pin towards the lining fabric all the way to the waist of that. So basically, you just want to pin it all around and then mark out the sewing allowance of 1 inch. You're going to repeat this on the other side as well. So here's what it looks like after the sides has been joined, and this is what the entire bodice looks like. At this point, the bodice is now ready. Give it a good iron if you can, and then go ahead and notch the center of the bodice pieces. So you basically want to notch the center of the main fabric and then the center of the lining fabric. This is to get it ready for us to join the skirts to it. And just for the purpose of this video and other videos, a dress is a combination of a bodice and a skirt. So when I say skirt, it's just the bottom part of the dress I mean. Match and pin the notches on the bodice to that on the gathered piece. Ensure the right sides of both pieces are facing each other, and then pin it all the way from there to the end of the fabric. To avoid bulk around the button wrap or button stand area, you want to make sure that you have about 1.5 inches or 1/3 inches at both ends that don't have any gathers. So you want to make sure that it's flat and straight there, and then your gathers can start after the 1/3 inches. Distribute the gathers evenly, and then when you're satisfied with the distribution, go ahead and join it in place by sewing it on 1/2 inch sewing allowance. We're going to repeat this entire process for the lining as well. After sewing, here's what it looks like. So at this point, our dress is nearly finished and we're done with the main fabric. Repeat the entire process for the lining as well so that you can join the gathered lining to the lining bodice. You want to make sure that you have about 1/3 inches at both ends free of gathers. After sewing the lining in place, here's what it looks like, and at this point the dress is nearly finished. So the next thing to do will be to close the button wrap area, and to do that you basically want to fold over the dress so that you have the neckline apart, and then you want to go ahead and place the right side of the lining against the right side of the main fabric. So starting from the neckline, you want to pin the center front lining and main fabric together all the way from the neckline to the hem. Then you want to mark out the sewing allowance of 1/2 inch, and then you want to go ahead and sew it in place. Like I said, it's important to make sure the right sides are facing each other, and you must remember that the lining is actually shorter than the main fabric, so obviously the lining will finish before you get to the hem, and that's absolutely fine. After pinning all the way, mark out the sewing allowance like I said earlier, and then go ahead and sew on 1/2 inch. You must repeat this for the other side as well. After sewing the lining to the fabric starting from the neckline all the way to the hem, here's what it looks like on this side. And on the other side, as you can see, I've done it as well, and I went ahead to top stitch. So after top stitching on the other side, here's what it looks like, and it looks pretty neat. So now moving on to the first side I was showing you, you want to go ahead and hem the remainder of the Ankara by 1/2 inch. So you basically just want to fold it in by 1/2 inch so that it keeps, it looks really neat and nice, and it doesn't keep unraveling. So go ahead and pin it in place and then sew it in place by 1/2 inch as shown. After doing that, here's what the dress looks like, and the dress is nearly finished. So if you can, give your dress a good iron, especially the area that has the button wrap, which is the center front area. After giving it a good iron, this is what it should look like. To make the button wrap, starting from the neckline, after ironing, mark 1 inch all the way from the neckline to the hem on both sides. After marking 1 inch all the way from the neckline to the hem, go ahead and sew on that 1 inch line. Ensure you sew as neatly as possible. At this point, the dress is finished and ready to be worn. Go ahead and make some buttonholes and fix your buttons. However, if you're like me and you want to add some pockets, starting from the waist, you need to measure 6 inches down vertically, and then starting from the center front area or the button wrap area, you want to measure 6 inches in horizontally. That will give you a start point for where your pockets will be placed. You also want to repeat this on the other side, which is what I'm doing right about now. So that's 6 inches down vertically and 6 inches in horizontally. After marking the pocket start points on both sides, the next thing to do is to cut out the pocket pieces. So we'll be cutting out 2 pieces that are 9 inches by 7 inches, and this will be for the pockets. So the 9 inches is actually the length, so that means it must be placed vertically, and then you have the 7 inches as the width. Go ahead and hem the top of the pieces by folding in 1/2 inch and then 1 inch. Separate the main fabric from the lining and then go ahead and lay the main fabric flat on the working area. You want to make sure that it's as flat as possible, and then you want to make sure that you can see your markings clearly. Go ahead and pin the pocket into position, ensuring you fold in 1/2 inch at the side where you're starting, 1/2 inch at the hem, and then 1/2 inch at the other side. So basically just do it like I'm showing you right about now. In order to keep the pocket straight, I'm measuring 6 inches again just to make sure that it's straight, and then I'm going ahead to fold in half an inch on this side as well, and I'll fold that in all the way down and just pin it in place. And then, like I said, you also want to do the bottom of the pocket. After folding in the pocket and pinning it in place, you're going to go ahead and sew the pocket in position by top stitching. So that means you'll be sewing as close to the edge as possible. Top stitch the pocket all around, leaving just the hem part unsewn. So that's the part where your hand will go into the pocket, and that's why it must be left unsewn. However, the side, the bottom and the other side must be sewn as shown. After sewing the pocket, here's what it looks like. So go ahead and sew the other pocket in position, and like what you want to do is you want to make sure that you lay the fabric flat on the table, make sure the lining is not under, and then you want to pin the pocket in position and then sew it in position. Afterwards, your dress is finished. Alright guys, so we've come to the very end of this tutorial. Thank you for staying with me to the very end. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was worth your while. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to leave your comments, suggestions and feedback in the comment section below. I love to read from you guys and I try as much as possible to respond to every single comment that I get. So yes, leave your comment. Let me know if you guys will be trying this out. Let me know if it's something that you like. Let me know if you understand it. Let me know if you want stuff like this. Let me know guys, I'll be there reading. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, please don't forget to do that. All you need to do is hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss out on the awesome content that I have for you. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this family and thank you guys for staying with me. I'll see you in my next video next Sunday. Till then, stay safe. Bye.